Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. This is Nigerian Air on Equa Television. I'm Sambo Solomon, and today with me I have Joyce Takada.
As always, a pleasant
Yes.
afternoon to you, Sambo Solomon.
I'm
Good
happy
afternoon to our
having
viewers out there.
happy having you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Our viewer, do well to join us on Facebook and YouTube and then contribute your own quota on our discussion for today. And today, Joyce, we have court to reject the SS appeal, to to the requests they forwarded in order to keep Emefiele for 14 days.
I was asking myself, after the show of shame, after the disgrace, after the despicable attitude we saw displayed by the DSS, you recall how that's what happened at Lagos, how that the court actually granted him bail, and then while the correctional service were trying to take Godwin Emefiele, the DSS came dragging with the officer of the correctional service, and after which the CBN governor, former, was suspended, decided to just say, oh, I'm just for peace sake, let me just follow the DSS. And they said they actually got an order from above. A lot of people kicked against such reaction, asking question, who gave the order? Because we're a democratic nation, a nation that is governed by rule of law. And what we saw out there wasn't a representation of a nation governed by rule of law, because if it is, then the court order should have been obeyed, and not we seeing a section of the security disregarding what the law say at their own detriment. That day, what we saw is a day that I think the judiciary should actually mourn, because if at this point this is what we're experiencing, then the hope for the common man, which is the judiciary, is a problem. I like the fact that all Nigerians join their hands together, same voices to kick against such actions. A lot of people have even called for the arrest of the head of the DSS, Yusuf Bichi, and calling for his suspension. And if we don't kick against that, impunity will just continue in our nation. That what we saw displayed at the court was mere gangsterism, if you ask me, because how can a sister security agency draw like another officer, almost tearing his shirt? It was a show of shame, if you ask me. And we don't want that to be the order of the day. We are battling with a lot of issues about insecurity, from banditry, kidnapping, Boko Haram, see what is happening in the southeast, agitation for secessionists, protests left, right, and center. If we don't see our security coming together to ensure that it fights crime, then it will become a laughing stock at the international world. And you get even these people that are into crime will just look at what these people are doing. It's more like giving them a way to actually have a swell time. We've been talking about how insecurity have been waxing stronger, and there is always strength in unity. If we see our security agencies coming together to fight crime, and we'll go a long way in terms of attaining success. But in a situation where you see all this fighting, this one feeling above this one, then we won't grow. So it is very important that the needful is done. And like I said, I like the fact that everybody kicked against that action, and it was just after that action that the DSS was requesting for another 14 days to detain the DSS to detain Emefiele. But the Federal Capital Territory High Court has dismissed that request by the Department of State Services for an extended detention order to keep the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, in its custody for additional 14 days. And then the secret police, you recall that they picked Emefiele on June 10, shortly after his suspension by President Tinubu on allegation of so first it was terrorism financing, later on it was possession of illegal firearms, talking about lack of licensing and all of that. So after being in that detention for over a month, the DSS took him before the Federal High Court in Lagos on Tuesday, where he was arraigned on 2 counts charges of possession of illegal firearms, and he was granted bail by the court, which ordered that he should be remanded at Ikoyi facility of the Nigerian Correctional Service pending the perfection of his bail. But rather than allow him to be taken by the Nigerian Correctional Service, we saw how that the DSS rearrested him amid clash with the prison officers. So in a suit that they marked, another suit, they were actually asking for the Federal High Court to grant him an order to detain Emefiele further, grant the DSS, but that order was actually rejected, saying that it's not constitutional. The DSS prayed that the court allow it to hold Emefiele in custody 14 days to give them room for conclusion of its ongoing investigation, because they said they actually found out some more, there are more revelations and they needed to investigate further. But however, in the court ruling by Justice Hamza Muazu, declined the prayer, describing the suit as an abuse of the court process, which every Nigerian actually saw. It was indeed an abuse of the law, and it didn't allow that prayer to actually pass. And the judge also said that the request lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter, noting that the provision of granting such application lie with the magistrate court as stipulated under section 293 and 296 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. So the DSS counsel, talking about Justice Victor Ejelonu, however, is withdraw the matter after the judge raised the question on the jurisdiction. So like I said earlier on, as a nation, we are ruled by law, talking about being a democratic nation. We are ruled by law, and we should be seen respecting that if we truly believe in democracy. It was an analyst that talked about the fact that it looks like our politicians, believe that we're a democratic nation, but in true terms and actions, we don't see that happening. No wonder you see that the security, Department of State Security are saying that, oh, there is an order from above for us to still detain, even after court has granted him bail and all of that. So I think we need to do the needful. Nobody is above the law. The security agencies are not even above the law. So let's see them adhering to the order of the court, not acting above the law. And that was why we said whoever gave that order should be arrested as well
too,
because even if it's the president, he should be called upon, because this is not something that should be allowed to go. If we allow that to go, then we are saying that any other case that will be taken to the judiciary or to the court, people should not have faith in the outcome, because what we saw that out there was quite shameful, was a disgrace, and it's really despicable. So we hope that the needful is going to be done in terms of adhering to court rules. Again, the court has rejected that request. We hope that we won't see the DSS going against that request as well.
What did you expect, Joyce? You know, in front of the court, you know, you disobey a certain rule, and then you're coming back again to ask for a permission from which court? Is it the court that you disregard, or which court? You understand? If you knew that yes, you are supposed to follow the rule of law, then you should have allowed that. Then come and then make your own application and said, even the court will listen to you because you obeyed them. You obey them, you know, and we always say this, you know, this democratic government, you know, we have the judiciary, the legislature, and then the executive, and then they are independent. If we say we have to, we want to take this country to greatness, definitely we have to obey the rule of law, because just imagine what happened that day between the two officers. Just imagine that it was a civilian that taught that guy a uniform. You have to imagine what would happen. By now, I don't think if that civilian will be breathing well. Yes, by now, because all apparatus will descend on him, you know. But look at it. Even at now, the DSS are not even telling us anything. All we hear is that is an order from above. Who is that above? And
that should really be investigated. This is not something that will just sweep under the carpet. Like I said, this should be actually followed. I heard the DSS saying investigation is ongoing as regards what's happening. How can the same department that disregarded the law be investigating the same matter? I think that the federal government have to take that upon itself. Let's see thorough investigation being carried out, and whoever is responsible for disregarding the law should be brought to book, regardless of personality, because we're talking about our nation, we're talking about our democracy. Recently, we celebrated democracy in Nigeria, and if this is what we tagged or referred to as democracy, then I think we have a long way to go. So the needful must be done regardless of the personality that is involved.
I agree with you. Now, the Nigerian Air, finally, Serika issue that's been visited, now the DSS. And I asked this question, why now?
You know, one of our biggest challenges as a nation is the issue of accountability and transparency. Greed has eaten into the fabric of this nation. Corruption is one of our biggest problems, and it is one of the things that has brought us to where we are as a nation. We will have grown and become better than this, but because of selfish interest, how that leaders see leadership as an opportunity to harness wealth for themselves and their family. And that is why we are where we are. It was shortly after the exit of President Muhammadu Buhari that we saw the launch of Nigerian Air. I was asking myself, so why the lie? You recall that the issue of Serika and the launch of Nigerian Air is one that has been on the media, a lot of controversy, a lot of reaction it indeed generated. And we are just hearing right now that the former aviation minister talking about Hadi Serika is under the custody of the DSS, even though it's been alleged, but we are waiting for formal declaration from the DSS about the arrest or the detention of Hadi Serika, the former aviation minister. You recall that it was the acting managing director of Nigerian Air, Captain Dapo Olumide, that had earlier revealed that the plane that was unveiled as Nigerian Air was chartered aircraft from Ethiopian Airlines. And he said the launch was widely, and it is widely viewed as scam. The plane that was unveiled was said to be over 10 years old and had been previously operated by Ethiopian and Malawi Airlines. Meanwhile, continued detention of suspended central bank manager, and then all of these issues have been on the air. But Nigerians have been asking questions, because in this country, when something is being opened, sooner or later you see it becomes like a forgotten issue. People don't revisit that. Committees are being said, and at the end of the day you don't hear anything. Nobody is being detained, nobody is being arrested, nobody is being prosecuted. But this is not something that should be swept under the carpet. Beyond questioning, I think proper investigation needs to be carried out. Like, how can a whole nation and the international world be deceived? Like, imagine that just close to the exit of the last administration, Nigerians were made to believe that now there is Nigerian Air, and about 800 aircraft were launched. And just for us to find out now by the managing director that all those airlines that were aircraft that was launched were all Ethiopian aircraft, and they have been used by both Ethiopian and even Malawi. At some point Malawi bought it, and at some point Ethiopia bought it back. And then Nigerians were made to believe that, oh, these are newly acquired aircraft. These aircraft have been in usage for over 10 years by the Ethiopian Airlines, and we went to acquire all of that. Like that's why it was described as the launch was described as a scam. Nigerians were deceived. Now, what is the concern? You will hear in the budget allocation, or you will hear at the end of the day, that billions of money had been allocated for that launch and then the acquisition of the aircraft, and then only for Nigerians to discover that these things were all lies. Now, as we were speaking, it has been alleged that the former aviation minister is in the custody of the DSS. Names have to be mentioned, because it cannot take one person to do this. A lot of people have been involved. We are suffering. Nigerians are in pain and living in hardship because of all the things that, like, previous, and like a lot of people have come together to do evil so that Nigerians will continue to suffer. Now, I'm talking about billions of nairas that should be in the education sector, that should be in health sector, that should be in infrastructural development, creating job opportunities. These were monies that were sidelined that for certain projects, but they ended up in individual pockets, and then Nigerians were just made to believe in a broad day like that, oh, these are Nigerian aircraft, only to be discovered that they are actually Ethiopian aircraft. Nigerians were just deceived. So the needful must be done in terms of investigation, prosecution, and even recovering. The National Assembly is not supposed to be a yes sir National Assembly. Our National Assembly are not just supposed to be there sleeping or just assenting to policies that are not favorable to the people, but they are there to defend the masses. And it is part of their duty and responsibility to recover public fund. And in situations such as these are issues that we hope to see in few days that the National Assembly are actually debating upon. I like the fact that they had already invited the managing director, and he has and he has already spoken about all of these issues. He made all the revelation, but it shouldn't end there. Prosecution regardless of party affiliation, because most times we see when people are found guilty or wanting, they truncate to the ruling party so that their sins can be forgiven. Or because the person that committed the crime is in the ruling party, nothing is being done about it. What you start hearing, if you reveal, I will reveal too. And at the end of the day, nobody talks about the issue.
No national interest.
Nigerians continue to suffer. So beyond assenting to policies that are coming from executive, public funds that are meant for public to improve the welfare of the citizens of the country must be recovered. Talking about the smuggled oil, talking about the trillions that have gone into to subsidy that nobody knows anything. Beyond certain committees, this money must be recovered. Recovered loots that have been relooted. All the people that have been involved in all of this must be arrested and prosecuted. And such money are public funds, like I said, it has to be recovered. Shortly, we'll be talking about the ministerial list. And I think that is what a lot of people have been talking about. Most of the people that have been going in and out of the presidential villa are people that already have cases before now on their head. And no wonder the likes of Femi Falana kept calling on the president not to dine with these people or continue shaking hands with them because of what they want, like ministerial position and all of that. But you should look beyond that and look at Nigerians that are actually suffering and think of improving their life by making sure that anybody that has stolen from public treasury is being made to refund and to face the full wrath of the law.
Well, talking about ministerial list, finally, now the speculation is over. Now we have authentic list, 28 names already received by the Senate. Well,
as expected, barely 24 hours to the deadline as stipulated by law. It was in 2022.
Were you expecting something different?
I wasn't, because already it's within the law. It was in March 2022 that President Muhammadu Buhari actually amended that section of the law that mandated that the president must submit the ministerial list as well as governors' list of their commissioners to the State House of Assembly, and then the president to the upper chamber of the Senate for screening, for scrutiny. And it is expected, you recall that before now, like since June, we saw so many lists, so many speculation going back and forth and all of that. And then the presidency, through its spokesperson, special advisor on communication and then strategy, special duties, Dele Alake, continued to debunk all of those lists, saying that the president is still within the time frame and he's going to work in line with the time period that is allocated to ensure that the list gets to the Senate. At some point, we were told that, oh, the list was already with the Senate, but the Senate also came out to debunk that, saying, oh, we did not receive anything from the president. So barely 24 hours to the deadline as expected by the law, 60 days into office, we saw how that the chief of staff of the president, talking about Femi Bajabiamila, who is the immediate past speaker of the House of Representatives, submitting the list to the Senate, and that list constitutes 28 names of the ministers are actually expected. And that is to say that he also made mention of 12 or even 13 more names are actually expected. And a lot of expectations are high even before now. People talking about, oh, can you just attach portfolios so that the screening is going to help really well in the screening and all of that. And we just saw the list have been submitted. Some past governors made it to the list, the likes of El Rufai, the likes of Nyosom Wike. A lot of people reacted, especially as regards some of these former governors, because like Nyosom Wike, you will know that he's a PDP member, even and also one of the G5 governors. A lot of people have said, oh, Wike worked against Atiku. Yes, he said, even him on several occasions said his support is for a Southern president, and because his party disregarded that rotation and he decided to he decided not to support the presidential candidate of his party, but rather a southern president. So some people have speculated that Wiki actually worked for Tinubu. We saw how that even with the return of President Tinubu from Paris and France, how that Wiki has been in and out also of the presidential villa. And some people speculated that maybe for presidential ministerial position, but well, he has made it to the list. The likes of El-Rufai, even in the speculation, we saw his name, how that people had even attached portfolio and all of that. He made it. The former governor of Umahi also made it to the list. And then I think Dele Alaki as well has made it to the list. So a lot of people, 28 names have been submitted, and we are expecting 13. So Nigerians are concerned about the screening. The scrutiny should really be done real well and hard, looking at national interests and looking at the growth and development of the nation beyond party affiliation, beyond what you expect to get, or loyalty or whatsoever. Whatever loyalty that we are expecting from these people should be loyalty for the nation. And right now, the expectation, all eyes are on the Senate. As it is right now, some Nigerians, some stakeholders have been making comments. Some people saying, oh, President Tinubu gave snakes and serpents, that these are the people that made it to the list. A lot of people have their point of view, but at the end of the day, the Senate have the final say, because they are the ones to do the screening and all of that. Even though the chief of staff to the president, talking about Femi Gbajabiamila, said all these names, like why it came late was because the president was truly scrutinizing these individuals and all of that. And when you see the names, they cut across different political party and all. But beyond that, now the expectation is on the Senate to do the needful, especially in terms of scrutiny, seeing that these people don't have any record of stealing from the national treasury or any case that is still pending from their own state. Because if if we look at the basis of competence, integrity, then we are going to have people that are going to man ministries that are going to grow and develop. And I think the likes of Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State have also taught the same part by submitting list of commissioners expected to be screened by the state House of Assembly. So the needful is what we are asking for. The basis of integrity, competence should be considered. The chief of staff was talking about creation of new ministries. I recall that Nigerians have been talking about cutting down the cost of governance, looking into ministries that have not been productive, ministries that have not been adding to our revenue growth. But year in, year out, there are always allocations to all of this, closing down or merging some ministries. But we are hearing that more ministries are going to be created at the time that we're talking about lack of funds and all of this. But beyond all these, after all is said and done, a lot of reactions have been ongoing, a lot of comments. But what we are asking for is national interest, people that will work for growth and development of Nigeria.
Well, that is just what we are calling for, because if you look at the list, it's not far-fetched from what Nigerians are saying. Initially you will hear that these names are fake, the lists are fake rather, and then people are just creating their own names and speculation. Nigerians, we are spiritual people that we can even prophesy. You understand? And finally, people that some Nigerians have already said they will make the list.
The body language already shows.
You understand. But like you rightly said, what we are asking is national interest. Now the issue of politicking is over. The time of politicking is over. Now it's time for governance. We just want to see how he will set the ground rolling, and then probably maybe let's see what they will do. But concern here is on the Senate, because bringing names without portfolio, I don't think we would do Senate justice by saying they should scrutinize them very well. I didn't mean portfolio is being attached to this name. At least this person is going to aviation, for instance, and you ask what is his knowledge concerning that particular line. If someone is going to finance, you check what is his track record. If somebody is giving works, you ask him certain questions that you can hold him accountable. Not in such a way that tomorrow they will give somebody something and then we'll hear the Ministry of Finance telling us that they don't have like record. If you are looking for people that keep records, are accountants. They don't play with that. That you see them with small papers because they really want to keep record. But it is in that place that you are expecting record, and they are telling you they don't have record. We are hoping that
the needful will be done.
Yeah. So Joyce, thank you so much for doing this with me. Well, viewer, thank you so much for choosing Equa Television as your favorite station and then making this program what it is. We sincerely appreciate you. Just be kind to one another, and let's do this tomorrow. Bye-bye, and God bless you.